Where are we at, big boy? What do you think?
Well, not good. I mean, I thought that the Patriots, I know the final score doesn't indicate it. I do think the final score was more about, some of the issues that the Raiders still have, that they're, trying to build a program there. But I thought the Patriots were basically dominated in all three phases. I mean, the way, from talking to people around this team, around the Raiders, and how coaches view the game. I mean, the Patriots are at the point now where they're even, losing games in the kicking game. They're getting dominated. I mean, field position, all that stuff, the kicking game, Behringer struggles as a punter, shanks the first punt out of bounds. I mean, the way this team is right now, and it's very similar to the way the Raiders are at this point, they're not that talented, and so you need everything else working. You need the defense to be really good. You need the defense to turn over the ball. They did once with the Jabril Peppers play. You need the kicking game to be on point, and just none of those things are working. And then you look at the offense, and I just think it's at a point now where they did some things in the second half when they were a little bit more dedicated to running the ball, which I don't understand why they didn't do that to start the game. And they just went to three-step drops. And that works against a team like the Raiders because they don't have any cornerbacks. Nate Hobbs was out. They're playing a lot of zone. They're playing off. And that's conducive to the way the Patriots want to play. But against the other teams, like we saw earlier in the season, whether it's the Saints or the Cowboys, the two blowout games, you don't have those opportunities. So, right now, nothing works on the Patriots. I mean, this was a Raiders team that is the definition of mediocre at best right now, as they're trying to build something. And the Patriots, in my opinion, after watching the film in all three phases, lost. And so, to me, I don't know where they are. And, Belichick, after the game, the way he spoke, to me, it's sort of he's resigned to his fate that this is where this team is at this point.
How much is it on coaching? And I'm just not talking about Belichick. You wrote about it the other day. But, system-wide coaching, how much of it is this a factor?
A lot. I think so. I think that there's been such an attrition on the coaching side from, Bill talked about starting over this week. And, we've done in the past, of course, when I asked him for specifics, he didn't give any. But, at least in my recollection, sort of resets to me or starting over was 2014 after the Chiefs game, 2018 after the back-to-back losses in December to the Dolphins and the Steelers when they, rededicated to the running game. And that sort of keyed them to go on and win a Super Bowl. Both times they went on to win Super Bowls. No one was expecting that this year. But I expected, okay, look, they've done what they've done. They had a tough opening schedule to start this season, which I think, a lot of people aren't taking into account when, especially with the offense, how bad things have looked. But, okay, the coaches got together. Bill's rolling up his sleeves. We talked about Bill O'Brien being on board. Now Bill wasn't stretched so thin. Bill could, sort of dial things in where the team needed help, and he could, lend himself there and get them all on point. And I figured they'd come out in this game and they'd look a lot better. And then they start the game like they did. I mean, to me, I think that the Bill Belichick's coaching, and I know we talk a lot about the GM, and that's where most of the problems have been, but I think Bill Belichick, the head coach, is ineffective at this point. And it's a whole bunch of things. I mean, it's his points not getting through all the way down to the position coaches. There is a lack of detail all over this team. Route running, blocking, Mac Jones, where his eyes are. The defense, there are busts a lot on this team. And some of it has to do with the secondary injuries, but there's a lack of detail. Then you also look at the personnel, and you talk about, the Patriots have had buy-in and things like that. Not only is it the roster that were departed from the championship days and guys being accustomed to that, but how many core guys are under contract beyond this year? Like, they set themselves up by not giving extensions to Duggar, Owenu, Hunter Henry, Judon, even if he was healthy, he was basically on a 1-year deal again before he was in contractual problems again. How many guys should be invested at this point? And that's why I think this is teetering big time on the next 2 games on whether the whole team quits on this season.
Teetering. Don't you think we've already gone over the edge?
I do.
We're
do
about
too.
there. I wouldn't say we're quite there. I mean, you
Really?
don't see it on film as far as,
Oh, really?
quit. And, I've covered some bad teams in the past. They're not at that point yet. But you don't think it's too far. I mean, if you're Hunter Henry or Josh Uche or Kyle Duggar and you're in contract years and you're like, well, is this the right thing for me?
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
being put in the right position?
Oh, believe me.
There's a lot of questioning going on behind the scenes.
Okay, you want to talk football? Bedard, by all means, 617-779-0985. We're still going to pick apart where they are and how they got here and spend plenty of time with that, but start to turn ahead a little bit and now how this all plays out, Greg, as you look at that and you look at the future of Belichick and the future of the coaching position here, future of the quarterback spot, the offensive coordinator, if you want to throw him in there, the staff, okay, if you will. Where do you think we're at with all of that? And I'm not that could be a projection if you want, but when you think about all that, those big picture pieces, what interests you the most or what are you looking at the most?
So it's, you guys have the talk show. I mean, for me, I have enough to keep me busy just, watching the film and the next game and things like that. So I don't think about a lot of these things yet.
I'm going to ask you to role play then.
No,
today.
I know. And that's fair. I think that, before when I wrote this about a year ago, when I looked at 2024 and the cap space available and how they haven't extended anybody and about how you have to decide on max 5th-year option and about how Gerard Mayo was retained. They sent out the press release. He didn't take any head coach interviews. I hypothesized at the time that to me it looked like Bill and Kraft, basically they were on a 1-year situation, year-to-year situation. That I know, people are talking about like whether Kraft would fire Belichick or whether he's unhappy with him. I was there a year ago. Kraft was pissed off about last year, and especially the handling of Mac Jones and everything that went on. And I think that I don't know if it was talked, if they discussed it together or what, but at least on Kraft's end, it sure seems like it was like, okay, Bill, you've earned the mulligan. We're going to help you. We're going to bring in Bill O'Brien. Let's see how it works. But, to me, he was on a year-to-year basis. And the way this has started, I think in a lot of places in that building, their mind is already on next year and about what they're going to do beyond this.
Okay. Do you think it's a blow the building up situation, or have they made commitments to Mayo? Have they made commitments to Bill O'Brien?
And Jones.
And do you think Jones is on that list?
It's a great question. I don't know. I don't think it will be a total teardown, like bring in somebody else from the outside, even though that's what personally I think they probably need. But I think the Crafts think so much of Mayo, and I know a lot of people will be like, well, what's the difference going to be? It's just, he's from here. He's Bill Jr. I think people even used to call him Little Bill or something like that. But I do think that, the Crafts view Mayo a lot like, when they viewed Bill way back when he was assistant coach, that, okay, there's Parcells, but Bill thinks of things on a higher plane. Like, all right, he believes what Parcells does, but Bill has a better grasp of player valuation, free agency, how to spend money, all that stuff. And so they were excited about that. I think they view Mayo the very same way, that he has a lot of the core philosophies that Belichick has, like Belichick had with Parcells. But Mayo is sort of the modern day sort of tech CEO as far as football goes. And so I think they're excited about that. And I think Mayo is going to have his own ideas on how to construct a coaching staff, how to construct a front office. And I think they should let him do whatever he wants. If he's the guy, empower him and let him make his own decisions.
Is it all but inevitable they're in the draft for a quarterback and starting over there?
Well, I think you have to be. Either way, no matter how the season finishes, no matter how Mac Jones finishes, you have to keep your options open. You can't be back in this situation again next year with, Bailey Zappi, who you think so little of. He's the emergency third quarterback on Sunday. But I do think, and probably we'll discuss more a little bit later, I do think there's a lot that goes into the whole Mac Jones things and what happened last year, where I think some people maybe like Kraft view things a little bit differently than maybe the general public and Belichick.
Give it to me now. Give it to me now.
Well, from what I understand from talking to people, that I don't think people understand, and this will probably not help Mac Jones at all, and I'm just trying to tell you what I've been told. That what went on last year, it was basically akin to like if you had an affair in your marriage. Like the break of trust that happened last year.
Never get it back.
Between the coaching and then the Zappy thing. Like you could say all the right things and Bill, but the trust isn't fully there ever again. And then when things get tough, it comes back out. And I think the Crafts understand what went on. And so does that buy Mac Jones more time? Probably. And with his contract, yes. But you have to make other plans. You have to, and maybe you draft a quarterback and maybe he's not ready year one. Maybe the plan is to sit him. And that's fine. But, you got to construct your franchise to be successful. And that includes having multiple options for the quarterback position, not what the hell they did on Sunday with Malik Cunningham.
There's just more leniency or understanding, or whatever word you want to use there, for Mac Jones' performance this year as a residual from what happened with Patricia and Judge. That's what
I do believe that, yes.
Okay. Comparisons suck because you can always poke holes in them. I can understand you're not getting over your wife cheating. I can get that. You don't get over that. You should be able to get over a bad coach for a year. Like it's just not the same.
Yeah, but I think it was deeper. I think the Belichick Mac Jones marriage is broken. And that's tough. I mean, for the franchise quarterback, not to think that the head coach is in his corner.
Well, I'm sure Bill worked so hard to make things right.
Well, right. I mean, this is why I felt it was a fireable offense last year.
I agree.
It's a fireable offense to do what he did. The quarterback will never look at him the same way. He'll never look at him the same way.
But it wasn't just the coaching. It was the Zappy thing, the Chicago game.
Oh, it was horrible, Greg.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I mean, we all said it at the time.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Bill effed it up. He effed it up royally. He might have screwed up the kid's career. That's how
and his own in the process.
Yeah, well, and that's how Jones looks at it, though, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jones looks at it and goes, you just effed my whole career. Like, I don't think that goes away.
I mean, just go back to Bill's comments going into Mac's second season. I mean, just play that soundbite about how he talked about him. And then what happened?
By the end of it, he can play quarterback in the league.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.